Hi, I'm Wes Allen, and yeah, I did this backwards, but this is part 3 of my look at Mutant Year Zero. Today I'm going to be looking at the design of the book itself, the layout, and just the feel of the thing. Let's roll it. Okay, so Mutant Year Zero is a really well put together book. It clocks in at 264 pages, at least that is the last numbered page on the book. There are several pages after that that have some character sheets and some other things that you can use for photocopy for handouts that are really handy. So it's not too thick. Good weight to it. You can throw it in a bag and carry it around pretty well. It's not really encumbered me that much as I've dragged it around trying to work on this review. It is a stitched binding, as all Free League games are, so you know that this is going to lie flat, it's going to break in, and it will last for a while, which is really a nice touch. And on the inside, where the cover has been glued to the signatures, are some sample zones of what you can play on. That's a very nice touch. It kind of shows you the type of grit and grime that this game has, and really the kinds of ideas that you can come up with for your own zones to play. So I really enjoy these. There's one on the front cover, and again, there is one on the back cover. So very good addition. I'm very pleased with that. The layout of the book itself is very, very nice. It has almost this type of graphic novel feel to it. And indeed, a lot of the artwork is very grim, comic booky, which fits very well in the game. And I'm very impressed with that. And just, let me get off the glare there. I mean, that's just beautiful. And you would think that, because the game is so bleak, that the artwork would kind of drag you down. But it's not. It's really a joy to look at. Love the font that they used. It is a serif font that has this feel of being a monospaced font, so it almost feels typewriter-esque. That kind of plays into the nature of the metagame as well. So I kind of enjoy that they had that small attention to detail. The header fonts that they used are also really bold and very nice. And every time that they want you to stop and read something so that you don't miss something or you don't read something that you're not supposed to, if you're not going to be a game master, you're just going to be a PC at the table, they'll put it in one of these nice call-out boxes. I love the yellow caution ribbon on the bottom, really grabbing your attention and saying, you must read this before you go on. Very cool. And you can see that happens quite a bit. I do like the way tables are laid out. So there's a good contrast between alternating rows. They do have a background color for that. Good header row to describe every column in the table. And the fonts are very clear and they're distinct. So I do appreciate that very much. So each of the character types, which are basically classes in this game, they are laid out very nicely inside the book. You have your general appearance, your talents, and your relationship with other PCs. These are all things you create at the time you roll up your character. It's really a good way to create a bond between the party and explain why the characters are going out into the zone together rather than having to spend 1 or 2 sessions really bringing the party together. It's something that I do appreciate. I'm glad that they designed it this way. And also it has you create your relationships to NPCs as well. That gives a game master a lot of material to work with as they create the tension inside the arc. So again, very nicely done. I love the front page of each chapter. It's got a very nice layout to it. Cool numbers up here that are really stylized for your chapter number. And then really kind of the only color in the font is the chapter title. And that's really cool. You do have some examples here that are covered by blue text all the time. There isn't a huge bestiary in the game, but what's there has some nice artwork on it. It does have very compact stat block to use and a good description for each of the creatures that you're going to encounter. So that's kind of cool. It's enough to be usable, even if it's not going to be very, very expansive. I do wish in this section there was more artwork for some of the creatures that they are describing, but you're just going to have to use your imagination for some of those things. So I mentioned in the opening that the back of the book does have some extra pages with some sheets that players would find useful. There is a full-size character sheet that can be photocopied. And if you had the PDF version, if you bought the PDF combo pack, you have this as a PDF, so you can get the page really easily. It also has a black and white character sheet, so if you don't have a color printer or you just find it easier to write on, it has that. One of the things that I do like on the back of the character sheet are places for notes, including people I've met and the role that they have and your kind of encounter with them. Your description of your den, which is your safe place inside the Ark. Any tiny items that you are carrying which don't impact your encumbrance, and then notes on the character in general. What you think of other PCs, what you think of yourself, what your mission is. That's a really nice inclusion. There's also a sheet to keep track of the Ark and its development, and this contains all the projects that you've worked on and the bosses, whether or not something is complete or not. This is a way of keeping track of the development level. And then the last page is a zone log. And this is the character's description of each of the sectors of the zone in which they go. So it's a nice way of just keeping track of things. There's no reason why you can't create your own spreadsheet and basically make this yourself, but it's a nice inclusion on the back of the book. So Mutant Year Zero is a really fascinating game. The question is would I play it? And I'm not really sure. So I've said for both parts of my review in Mutant Year Zero, this is a very gritty game. It is intense. There is a great deal of strain and stress that's put on your characters. There's this threat of annihilation that's looming over everything, which is oddly enough a little bit unusual in a post-apocalyptic role-playing game, which tend to be more gonzo. And I'm not sure that it's something that I would want to play myself, but it is interesting. And if that type of grit really is something that appeals to you, then this is a game to check out. I will say that I think the Year Zero engine is a really fascinating way of running a game. Just those D6 pools of dice that you roll to see if you succeed or fail. The concept of pushing rolls is really cool, and the side effects that go along with that. All of that stuff is really neat. So mechanically, Mutant Year Zero is a really cool game. So maybe not for me, but a really intense and interesting game nevertheless. Now, next week, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm still trying to work out my kind of post-apocalyptic game roundup, and that's something that I want to put out by the end of the month. But I also got in the mail recently my first TTRPG for kids, and that is Hero Kids. This is something I want to play with my little one pretty soon, so I might be taking a look at that instead. Until then, happy playing, everyone.